questions here.
Yeah,
but,
we'll cover as best we can.
You guys have questions to join in. What were you saying, Dirk?
Oh no, I you know, that was just to kind of get us started. So it's okay if we don't cover all of them.
We'll do our damnedest.
Well, we'll do what we can. So yeah, so hi everybody. Welcome to my stream. I'm seeing if where is it? Is it not showing up? I'm looking to see if it shows up on my pages here.
Totally fine, Dirk.
Okay, well, it's working on YouTube. Let's see if it's working on Facebook.
Totally fine, Dirk.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's working on YouTube. Let's see if it's working on Facebook.
You're going to want to if you could, put headphones on.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
And then that way we won't have echoes.
Aha! There it is on Facebook now. All right, great. All right. Okay, I've got it streaming. So great. All right. So, all right. Well, let me quick welcome the people who join in from my side. Just thank you everyone for coming. I'm here with Comfort Love and Adam Withers of the Uniques. Yes, I said Adam Withers. He's here. They're both here. He just Comfort's on camera and Adam is not, but that is okay. And tonight, Comfort and Adam are going to tell me all about their experiences with Webtoon, which I'm curious about, especially because I'm sort of relaunching my series. So. Yeah, I'd be very curious. Yes, that sounds fantastic. So, oh, well, great. Oh, thank you, Nola. I like it too. So that's. Right. Yeah. Well, the thing is, with that is that even though I love manga, that bothers me too. And when I first started drawing manga style, it wasn't the first style I started drawing in. I started with like Marvel type stuff, like Jim Lee and the like early '90s like X-Men type stuff when I was in high school. And I dabbled a little with anime stuff from like the '80s, but it wasn't until I was already in college and drawing, like doing figure drawing courses and drawing portraits and whatnot, that I decided to start drawing my friends like anime style, because I was watching a bunch of anime at the time. And I wanted them to actually look like them, as opposed to like just generic anime. Like, so I was like trying to figure out facial structure and how to make noses and eyes, and but mostly the face shape. The face shape is the thing that does it. So my manga style has always been sort of like, how can I simplify a real face, as opposed to how do I turn everything into the same cookie cutter. Yeah, it's true. I'm a lot faster now, but it's still like for me, I put as much effort into my drawings as I do my story. So I have like it's taken me years to finish each book. So that's just the way it works. Yeah, so Webtoon. So you know, but maybe your audience and some of my audience doesn't know that I got started with webcomics way back in the day. So I started my first website with comics on it in 1999. Yeah, and I was on like a subscription site in like 2002. And so I'm like this veteran and I've got the scars to prove it, but Webtoon is this entirely different monster. And like I was poking around at it yesterday, and wow, like some of the readers are in the millions. Like, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I gotta pull up my chat here. Oh, that's not good. Um, say something real quick. Oh, yeah, that's not working. That's not good. I think I have to take. I think. Oh, it worked last week, but I think it's because I had my headphones off. It might have been picking up the speaker. Oops. Do you mind if I go off?
They're saying they can hear via YouTube. The streams are just a little out of sync.
Oh, the streams are. They can hear, but the streams are out of sync. Or are they just? Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's not taking the audio from Zoom. That's no good. Well, I'm gonna go off headphones real quick, and if we have a problem with delay, then I will. I'll see what I can do about that audio feed. I might have a technical solution for that, but I don't want to mess with it in the middle of a conversation if I can avoid
All
it.
right. Well, let's see if we can make things work. And if worse comes to worse, people can all just the whole shebang is here on the Twitch stream, so you can
Yeah. So we've got the Twitch feed going if need be. I will put a link to that over here too. Looking for. I am so new to this live stream thing.
You know what? For us, just the thing, we love Twitch the most. Out of all the streaming, I think, it just, because it specializes in it, Twitch is just really, really nice. And I think for some of our viewers, there's a lot of people who've gotten off of Facebook in recent years. So.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. It's just like a legacy site at this point.
Yeah.
So
I know we're still on Facebook. I like using it for messages.
Right.
And the groups.
I'm so old. I still like email.
We hear you.
Oh well, the world moves on. The next thing we'll know, we'll have brain implants, and then I'll be like, no, you're not putting that in my brain.
Well, it actually ties in a little to what we were saying. We're starting to talk about Webtoon and
Yes.
getting into the changes that webcomics have gone through in the last 5 years or so. Comfort and I felt for a long time like there was a cycle in internet comic, like the internet comic world, and that cycle was about the time that Comfort and I would figure out how to really make good use of a platform and like master that platform. That one would die and another one would show up somewhere else.
So like clockwork, Webtoon showed up as we were getting down, like putting comics like onto our website directly and selling through Diamond.
Right.
Which is flailing right now.
Just in time for everything we were getting good at to no longer be relevant.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, this is the it's the whack-a-mole stage of internet growth. It all happens so quickly that you're chasing something, and just when you've caught it, the relevancy has moved over to somewhere else. It's very difficult to stay up with where are people.
Yeah.
Where is everybody at? Where's
Yeah.
the audience?
And I sort of lost it when social media came on the scene.
Oh.
I was such a Web 1, Web 1.5 guy, and like bulletin boards was where it was at. And like that's how I met all my webcomics people. And then I went on the convention scene, and around the late aughts was when Twitter came on. And I, got into that at first. But then there was also Facebook, and the next thing I knew there was Instagram, and then I kind of had a meltdown in 2012, and I just totally lost track of everything.
Well, this is sort of beside the point, but I will say, and a lot of other people on here know this too, get ready. It is going to change again, because even I think if you're below a certain age, which I would say 25, your general disgust with all those platforms is pretty high. So,
well, I'm right there with them.
So, prep yourself. All right, so let me explain what Webtoon is for people who don't know. Webtoon is a site where you can go and read webcomics for free. People who put those on. There's two sections. One is originals, which is comics that Webtoon itself finances, and those are their advertised comics. And then there's Canvas, where anybody can put stuff on, which is sort of the slush pit. But Adam and I
it's the Wild West.
It's the Wild West. Adam and I have had fun there in part because we can do anything and we can experiment with anything.
Yeah,
and
we've enjoyed the freedom
right.
that we get out in the Wild West, where if we have an idea for something to try, especially when it comes to interacting with the audience. And that has been what we've enjoyed the most about Webtoon, because the challenge that we had in chasing webcomics around, because we, from the very beginning, when we first launched Uniques, when we were just babies back in 2008, the year that Twitter debuted was the year that we started trying to do webcomics. And
webcomics / mostly printed comics.
We did print and we did web simultaneously.
Yeah, and the web we did was just you buy the CBD or the PDF from one of the various websites or from us directly.
Yeah,
that was our version.
But that's mostly what they did. You had the webcomic strips, like your PvPs, your Girls with Slingshots,
or people who would just do one page at a time, like Dirk.
Right, and they would have, everybody had their own website, and if you wanted to read a bunch of webcomics, you would go to a bunch of individual websites. There were some aggregates that would be like collectives of people who would group their sites together, so you could sort of link up and read around to a group of creators. But it was a little bit solo, and we were trying to figure out how to make a traditional print comic work in that kind of an environment. But there was such separateness to the way that the releases worked that individual comics had their own individual communities. And the thing about Webtoon is very different. This is something that social media has created and propagated, I think, is that there is a community on the site itself.
Correct.
That is interested in a broad range of things. And within that community are subgroups that then will find different kinds of comics that they're all looking for. The point is, you don't have to create everything from scratch. You don't have to draw people in and build your own world on your website.
Meaning the unique fan base only
Right.
to you, because a lot of people already read webtoons and they're already on the site looking for more.
Exactly. It's less like trying to throw a block party at your house and try to get people to come into your yard to see what you're doing, and more like setting up your own sideshow at a circus. There's a bunch of people who are already there and they're looking to have circus fun. So what are you doing in this tent? And that has made it a lot easier to draw people in and to build a community for our particular book, because we're tapping into that stream and not having to build something separate. And it's been our experience that people want the fewest locations necessary. If they can get the majority of their entertainment from a single source, that becomes their source.
So they're on the Webtoon app, and so as new things come onto the Webtoon app, they're like, cool, I'm going to join, or I'm going to check this out because this came through my feed however way it
Right.
did. Whether I searched for it or whether, it was featured somewhere or something like that. So that's the general thing with Webtoon, is that there is already a built-in audience, but you do want to try to bring in other people, and that's what we continue to try and do. I will say that is a little difficult sometimes, especially with an older audience, because Webtoon is a Korean-based company, and the general audience, not all of them, but the general audience, I would say, is female from the ages of probably 12 to 14 to 25. That would be, I think,
That's your
the
largest
space.
audience.
That's the
Obviously,
largest
there's a lot of outliers beyond that, but that seems to be the majority of the audience.
So like YA, shonen,
Right, very YA.
shoujo type stuff is going to be the most popular sort of
Shoujo
stuff.
is the number one. Like
Yeah.
Right.
shonen
Some.
but really shoujo.
It's if it's got a romance,
Uh-huh.
it's gonna have weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I never thought we'd be emphasizing our romances so much in our books.
Which is super great because we love those.
Right, and we have many of them, but it was sort of like a bit of a bug, not a feature, back in 2008, but now it's a feature.
So would you say, I mean, okay, I'm totally getting us off topic, but would you say that having the Webtoon audience, has that changed your story then? I mean, it sounds like it has.
No,
It just allows us to, be like, when we talk to the audience, we can talk about that stuff a little bit more and with a bit more excitement, and we can play into it. But it was always there.
It's been exciting for us because this is the stuff that we have been excited about. The things that we enjoy writing the most are, the friendships, the relationships, the connections between people. And the action, like, the Uniques is a superhero series. It's got action in it, but the action for us has always been a device to move us from, arc to arc for the characters' personalities, their personal growth, and their individual development as people, and how they develop together in the relationships and friendships that they have.
Now, I will quick say that it is a little bit difficult sometimes, and I know it's harder for us to grow a fan base. Like, if we had nothing but boy love, if two characters, if Quake and Michael from the Uniques were kissing all the time, almost kissing, and their hands were almost touching, like, this would be a super popular book. But it's got a lot of plot and a lot of story and a lot of things that are not commonplace to Webtoon. So it is a bit more of a hard sell, and it's harder for us to...
We ask a little more of the audience.
Right. And so that's where us talking to the audience really had to come in, because we found, too, that a lot of the audience members, like some of them who are here today, who are on our screen right now, super savvy, readers, and hence them being here on Twitch.
That was such a great, cheap pops professional wrestling move. I know that some of the fans over in Houston might not understand.
I love you.
People here in Austin know where it's at.
I love you. But
That's funny.
It's true that because I think, webtoon itself, even the books that are featured, like the story is good, but it can be somewhat shallow. What we had to do is we did have to sort of, in a very light, delicate way, train the readers to look for certain things or prepare themselves for certain things, not freak out about other things.
We're doing a different kind of book than what is typical on the platform. And this is something that you will have to consider. You know, if you're looking at bringing your stuff, you're looking at bringing Paradigm Shift to Webtoon, one of the first things to do is to look around at some of the other stuff in that space. You know, other series that are, you know, doing those kinds of mystery stories.
I think they have a mystery section, and then they have a thriller section.
Yeah, there's also horror, there's also action, there's also the paranormal. So there, I'd have to figure out which one would be the best fit.
Yeah. So we, at first, I don't feel like we paid quite enough attention to what the audience was used to. What started really making a difference for us was when we started reaching out and talking to the readers. And what we would do is, we just start adding, because there's...
This I can show.
All right. So every time you post a webtoon, you can add your little, like, creators' comments at the bottom. But we find that those do not tend to be read. They're sort of skipped past.
Right. You can steal one of your top comments if you want to, although I know our readers really love getting top comments. So it's open. But what really is important, let's just click on the most recent episode here and I'll scroll up. So anyways, we'll do oftentimes like a little previously on. Right now we're doing a likes challenge.
Yeah.
So to get people to actually click the like button.
And we can talk more about that. And
But we do a previously on, here's what happened. This happened to be a very ship-savvy episode. Not all of them are shipping, but this one happened to have some romance in it.
So here's one major thing talking about the
Oh, we also have a quick Spotify song.
Oh yeah, we started doing soundtracks.
Right.
Where we give you a song for the episode.
So what were you going to say about
What I was going to say about previously on is we come from the land of print comics, where when you get a new issue, you're either getting a single issue and it's going to be 20 to 30 pages or so, or you get a trade paperback and you're looking at 150 plus pages, up into like the mega collections that are in the 300s or whatever.
Right.
And that is a lot of content that you're going to be consuming. With a single issue, you'll consume it all at once. With a trade paperback, you might spend a day and read the whole thing, or read it, you know, a few chapters at a time.
By the way, as Adam talks, sometimes I'll be drawing in between, and then when it's pertinent again, I'll bring it back up to finish what I'm saying. But I just want everybody to know where we're at.
Yeah.
You're getting much smaller pieces. When we break up a single issue of Uniques, and a single issue of Uniques runs on average 30 to 36 pages.
Because we're nuts.
Because we're crazy, yeah. And that breaks down, usually a scene for Webtoon, a single episode of Webtoon will be around 2 to 3 pages.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like it's 10 pages, but it's not.
But it's not.
The earlier episodes are a lot. Like
okay, I was counting the number of panels in episode 1 and comparing to your first issue, and I was like, wow, that's like 8 pages.
No. That was because we started Webtoon. We started when they had a contest going, and honestly, like in retrospect, the stipulations on the contest were
bad.
Bonkers and actually bad for the site.
They required a certain number of panels per comic to qualify.
Like 60 or 70 panels.
Wow.
That is a much more content than the average reader even wants in an episode.
Yeah.
What we found was when we were posting that big of a page, they would be reacting in the comments to like the first couple pages
or the last.
Mm.
Right.
They would totally miss.
It's too much.
Giant sections.
It's overload. And the thing is, you have to remember with Webtoon, it is designed exclusively for the phone. You can read it on your desktop, but it is not in any way optimized for desktop reading. It is a mobile platform period that happens to offer desktop as an option. Most people are reading on their phones, and they're reading on the go a lot of times, in between other things. So really long chapters are more difficult for them to consume at once, and therefore they miss stuff. It's harder for them to keep up.
Right.
The other thing is, if you have something happen at the beginning of an issue or a chapter of your trade paperback, and that thing in the first couple pages comes up again later in like Act 3 of that same issue, in the issue it might only be 15 pages apart.
Right.
And you're reading that all at once, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But in Webtoon, those same 15 pages could take 2 months to get to.
Of course.
So a little piece of a setup for a storyline that we do on the first couple pages.
Hence the previous.
Exactly. Something we set up early in the issue could be 2 months before they get to the payoff. And they forget the setup by the time it gets there because, of course, they did. It's been 2 months.
Right.
Right.
And by the way, we accidentally here said season
I know.
2. We got to change that. But anyways, we had to send people back to season 1.
Oh, like the Marvel, like the little Marvel editor notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So
To help them out. This
we're
is not.
trying to get them to be able to say, oh yeah, this was the thing back there.
Yeah.
So now my headspace is correct for this chapter here, which is about 2.5 pages.
Oh, so you're actually doing frame grabs from that chapter at the beginning.
And even look at, this is a whole panel here, but as I scroll down, I'm then zooming in on aspects of the panel in order to help the audience
Right.
For a couple
focus
reasons.
in on the character.
It's a couple reasons. First off, because frequently that is a very big panel. That's like half the page in print.
Right.
And there's more text on that page than we could fit.
But this is the size of a goddamn postage stamp
Exactly.
on Webtoon, and it sucks.
So it's a combination of needing to make room for all the dialogue,
Yeah.
also needing to get the image big enough that the audience can easily see what's going on.
Right. Yeah. I was noticing because I love wide panels because they're very movie-like, and so that would be something I would have to consider how I would handle adapting.
So a decision we made really early on that I think has made all the difference for us.
Back to the drums.
We decided that we're going to approach this from the standpoint that the audience is capable of being anything that we want them to be. We can have any audience we want, but we have to be the ones who reach out to them, right?
Right.
It is our responsibility to help them understand what we're trying to do. It's not.
I'm not here to be upset at them
Right.
for not understanding something. I'm here to be helpful.
If they aren't
Right.
getting it, the first question is, what can we do to help them get it? Not, blaming them for just not being smart enough.
I can't be like, God damn it, 12-year-old girls. I have to be like, okay, you're 12. Or even if you're 25 or whatever. If I look out at the landscape of storytelling and stuff, I can't expect everybody to be like, I've been watching HBO television for the last, 20 years now, and I like really complicated, deep storylines and stuff. If I was 12, I wouldn't get these things just yet.
Yeah.
So how do I, help a 12-year-old or a 25-year-old or somebody too that's, never delved into this kind of storytelling
We could be
along with what we're doing?
we
Right.
could be their first comic like this that they've ever read. And we have to be able to be more of a gateway. So we looked at it as an author's responsibility to teach and train the audience. And once we started doing that, and we started looking at things like, okay, we'll do a previously to recap, to help make sure that they don't forget the important things that matter in this particular
Because
episode.
it did become apparent that people were forgetting,
People forget.
and
Yeah.
they didn't know what was going on. And
Yeah.
so, 3/4 of the way through, we were like, oh, this is something we actually have to do.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm running into with the script for my new book. With my writing group, I'm referencing stuff back to the first book and like the first storyline, and there's been a whole 200-page volume in between, and they don't remember the characters and they don't remember
Yeah.
what's going on, and so I'm asking myself as the writer while I'm working on the script, how can I make this more? How can I remind people, if they haven't sat back and just reread the original collection, for
It is
instance?
something that we're going to have to be looking at for our hardcover that we're going to do for season 2. How do we remind them about the important parts of season 1 that they need to remember,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to go back and read the entire thing?
But you know what? Like, I'm reminded of, because people in the chat are talking about the previously ons, that the Marvel editors' notes and stuff that they used to do, the little caption boxes, all the Stan Lee interstitials that jump in and explain things. And I used to love that stuff. And when I was a kid reading comics for the first time, when I would come
Yes,
across
super helpful.
when I would come across a panel with a little asterisk and a little caption like "See issue blah blah of whatever comic," in my head it made it feel so much bigger.
Yeah.
It made it feel like I was coming into this world that had so much going on. I was part of something. I wasn't just, a kid reading a comic. I was, an explorer entering this strange, amazing world.
I mean,
And it presented the right way. It's not something that feels like homework to the audience. It makes it feel exciting.
yeah. Now, when you do that, can you actually put any hyperlinks into it, or is it just marking it on the graphics file?
It's just the art.
They'll have to do it themselves.
Yeah, I wish that we could. I wish, but this is actually. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to do it on a older, longer episode and see if I can get it fast enough. So what a webtoon actually is a series of 800 pixel wide by 1280, I think, pixels high panel. So once you've laid this sucker out, you Photoshop, then you got to chop this asshole up.
Chop it
Right.
down.
Chop it down. Let's see if I can do it fast enough. No. So you can see it, see how it's catching up? It does it really fast, but this is the way that in those panels that the phone or the computer or whatever can load this. Like, it doesn't have to load the whole thing at once, which can be a big file. It just does these panels one at a time, and it's banking on the reader not catching up fast enough as they scroll.
So you just take the file and you slice it up and output the slices and upload the slices.
There's little websites and stuff, like this website called Crappie, where I, chop up the webtoon itself into about 4 or 5 sections, and I just run it through this, and it chops it down into the smaller bite-sized pieces, so I don't
right.
test that myself.
Yeah, well, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, and then sometimes I have to run it through a thing called, it's a tinified, so it takes your JPEGs and makes them even smaller because
there's a pretty strict
right.
size limit.
Oh, okay.
When we started, they gave a lot of megabyte space per episode, but eventually that went down to, I think, about half. So everybody's like, why are the episodes longer? I was like, first, you guys can't handle them.
Yeah.
I cannot put them up anymore. Like, I literally cannot. Like, the last episode we put up, I barely could get it up. It was such a hassle.
Right.
I was like on a knife's edge. I was like, can I fit this? Ah, damn it.
Yeah. There is always, because we have very dense images.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of
color depth, a lot of image information, so the JPEGs wind up a lot bigger.
Right. So like something like this, is going to be a lot more information with the textures and all that kind of stuff. But then,
yeah.
And I understand this now. Like, if you go to originals or my dashboard. I was not that subscribed. Oh, like I said, I'm currently reading where it does it just not have it up. It's true thing. We'll do overtime because it's real simple. So you can see that this is really simple art, meaning that it's really flat.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's not any gradients or anything.
So much smaller than ours.
Yeah.
So that's really what is easier to put up on Webtoon. We just like to break every rule.
Right. Well, I mean, I would be doing black and white unless I did the special color pages that I did for the new editions. But people might get upset after like X amount of episodes having it suddenly go black and white on them.
They're going to have to deal, or you find another colorist to sort of do flat colors.
Yeah, except I don't know. The look is the look,
It does help. No, it does help.
And there are other successful black and white comics. It's not like
you get a very particular tone out of your book because of that, and you don't want to mess with that if you don't have to.
Right. I mean, as much as beautiful as a full color version would look, it would have a very different feel.
Exactly.
By the way, Adam, can I take that other page from you or no?
Which other page?
So the one you were tightening up?
Just about.
Just about? Yeah, okay. I'm out of stuff to do here.
Sorry.
Oh, it looks like some people are having trouble hearing me. I'll see what I can do.
Nope.
The volume up?
Nope.
What do you want me to do?
You got to do it on your OBS.
Oh.
Okay, so that's us. So,
Yeah.
Speaker music?
Yep.
Alright, it's up, it's max.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. So talk just a little bit louder, maybe, Dirk.
Oh, well, okay. I can I'll turn up the gain on my on Zoom and see if that is that better? Hey, people in the chat land.
Let's ask the audience, is that better?
All right. So other question. I mean, we're covering a lot of ground that is not necessarily in my questions, but it's all good stuff.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've covered length. We've covered a lot of different ways. I mean, it does sound like a lot of the stuff here is less about production of the comic and more about the context of Webtoon itself and understanding what the audience expects, and how to like adapt to those expectations. So
just give me that page, Adam, right now, and I'll just take it right now. I don't need the whole thing.
So a follow-up question is more, again, back to the sort of the businessy side of things. So how has joining Webtoon, what has that done for your audience, and how does that play into your other publishing strategies, like such as your ebook sales like Comixology, or physical book sales through Amazon, or anything like that?
Really quick, Adam, is that page
updated on my side?
Yes, it is.
It has definitely grown the audience quite a bit, for sure. And we have picked up some real, like, rabid supporters, and that has been fantastic. In terms of, like, financially, still nothing can beat conventions in terms of money makers. Conventions are still our number one money makers. Patreon is number 2. But we have, anytime we run into a Webtoon reader at a con, which happens frequently, they're always super psyched.
And they always buy the books.
They always
and prints. And we've just started, like, we were like, yes, 2020 is going to be awesome!
Yeah.
and then coronavirus. But, like, we were, our book sales, like, jumped up by 25% last year. And I was like, I think they're going to jump up another 25%, so 50% from what we were doing before, like this year. I was like, I think that's where we're going to be. Again, that didn't get to happen.
But that's not
Right.
Corona. That's 2020 being 2020.
Yeah.
You're always for people to buy things like people are definitely buying online, but it's not the same like that you can just sell at a convention. Like
Yes.
I can be at a convention and do the pitch for the book, and we can sell to 10 people who are standing around the table, and that's awesome. And that's harder to do online.
Right. Of course.
And
Yeah.
yes, we are doing very quickly for okay, whatever. Yes, there's we're drawing Motherboard and Quake. Is it a romance thing? I don't know, but you can always put your own. Like this is a lesson for you.
I'd love to
here,
see
Dirk.
somebody screen cap while we're drawing and put their own
Right.
dialogue in.
The shipping, Dirk, is paramount. I will tell you.
They do enjoy it. I mean, we enjoy it too, and that's I think why it becomes a thing, because we enjoy playing with it ourselves. So we really engage with that when people want to talk about it. But yeah, something I was going to say is that we look at Webtoon as a more long-term investment.
Yes.
That we have, like we said, we do excellent with them at cons, and we have converted more Webtoon readers into Patreon supporters. And we do make a little bit on ads from Webtoon.
Yeah.
It's not a ton.
Right.
We see a few hundred a month from Webtoon ads.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wouldn't be looking as so much a revenue generator as so much as just a new place to put my work to put in front of people who have never heard of me, and there's a lot of them now. I mean,
well, and just be aware that at the beginning of being on Webtoon, it might be a little slow going.
oh yeah, whatever. I mean, I could put up 2 years worth of material based on what I already have.
And two, when you can draw that out. So here's another trick that we're doing. So I'm just going to go back.
Here we go.
So back to the most recent episode. So I'm going to show you what is, and this is for the audience too. Here's what was drawn for the issue, and here's what was just an added repurposing of her face. So this is drawn.
It's not just a repurposing. We have a collection of headshots that we're building for the characters that are just sort of emotion shots, and we can swap out, like the neck piece of the outfit, because sometimes you have, like we said, a lot more text in a panel than you can fit in the Webtoon format.
For instance, all that's been going here is all part of the actual issue, but boom, there is a face that was from a previous issue that we just changed out the shirt.
Changed your outfit, dropped it in so that we can...
Right.
Alright, there's another one that's a repurposed face. There's another repurposed face.
Right.
Repurposed face.
Yeah, and it's something we have to be able to do, because the format for print allows you to get a more dense amount of dialogue in.
And Webtoon just can't handle it.
You've got to stretch
it looks not great.
It doesn't look great.
If I go back to those early episodes, which now I'm like, man, between season 2 and season 3, I'm terribly tempted to just go in and rework all of this and just put up a few.
I'm not sure if it would be worth the time.
We'll see.
I can appreciate the impulse,
right?
But I just don't know if it's worth it.
The point is, we'll see what we do. But the reality is this is way too much text for Webtoon. Just what we found is some readers can handle it, but the vast majority just can't.
Right. Oh, like the interlocking text stuff. That is.
Interlocking text, the fact that there's more than one sentence in a bubble.
It's not just that it's interlocking, it's that you gotta remember, again, this is being read on somebody's phone. So it's a very small space to have that much dense dialogue.
Right.
The fact that the panels are so close is also a problem.
It's it would be the equivalent of getting a print comic where you've got 9 panels on one page, and it's all dense conversation. As soon as you open to that page of the book, internally, subconsciously, you're like, oh God, this is going to be like homework.
This here is like, I think, at least 2 chapters, and it's all in one, and it is overwhelming for the audience. And
Yeah.
it is the single biggest hurdle we have to getting new readership, because so many people start and then they just stop because it's too much. And if we were in a situation where we were closer to this, which you can see how sparse the text is, it's still there, but per panel, look at how tiny that is.
Wow.
Little that is.
There's a much.
That's a lot more.
It's more art versus text.
Yes.
Right.
And it's the same amount of text. We're just stretching it out a little bit more so that it's not as much of a strain on your eyes. It's like Gazer said in our chat. At this point, you feel like you're reading a book, not a comic.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to just space it out to
right.
And even for Webtoon, this is still a lot of text. Like, I've seen a lot of Webtoons, like, maybe there's 100 words in an entire episode, maybe. And that's being generous for any of them.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
most of them is like, glance, shuffle,
there's
move.
A large amount of the text will just be sound effects.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's
you know, I mean, it would be retooling something that wasn't originally designed for it, obviously. But I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. And you know, for me, it would be, you know, any new readers I can pick up would be great. I'm certainly not going to be on the top most popular page, and that's okay. I'm used to that.
That'll happen.
We've made it to their recommendations several times now, and it surprised the hell out of us. Like, we absolutely feel confident in what we're doing, but what we're doing is much more complicated and dense than what most webtoons are. Like, we're the vegetables, they're the candy. And we didn't expect the vegetables to get featured as often as we do.
Right.
So you never know.
Go.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Another little thing is, this is the same panel, and it just looks like this in the actual comic, but here he is with his eyebrows up, and then we do a little thing like where we're pulling out and seeing the other characters, but we're also just pulling his eyebrows down. And that's such a simple change for us, but it feels like something's happened, right?
It's just a minor shift.
It's minor, tiny things that really make a lot of the difference.
The things that we're trying to keep in mind when we're doing these is, how can we maximize the impact for the Webtoon audience with the minimal amount of expenditure of our time? Because we're still producing a comic.
Yeah.
We're still having to get the thing done. We're designing it for print. Print is the intention, and print remains the intention. Something that I said, because I will admit that I was the holdout on going on the Webtoon.
Yes,
because
Adam was very much against it.
Because the phone format bugs me. That's not how I want our book to be. And I did not want to fall into a trap where we get really popular on the site and all of a sudden we're designing uniques for the phone instead of for the page. And so something that I laid down very early, and Comfort immediately agreed, she never had intention otherwise, but we wanted to be sure that when we are making our book, we are thinking of the print first and foremost. And we're not going to do any like little trickery things in doing our layouts. We're not going to shy away from an excellent page layout just because it might be tricky to do on Webtoon.
Right. But I will say I do tall panels more often than I used to, because I used to do almost nothing but wide panels. But now I'll allow myself to do tall panels about 25% of the time. It's still mostly wide, but I can go there with the tall panel now more often than I used to.
Which actually isn't bad, because it's just forcing us to think more.
Right.
I don't see that as a negative.
I want a quick show the little afterwards that we do. So we get done with the episode and we're like, hey, season 2 continues, yay! And then we're telling the audience, hey guys, we're going to design 2 characters, which, by the way, we are going to design 2 characters on Thursday at 9 o'clock. And so these are just some rando sketches here, because obviously the characters have not been designed, but we're getting to tell everybody, like, hey, come to the Twitch stream, this is the site, what have you, what have you.
As I said in the beginning, like, you can do your little creator comment after the episode, but they don't read that as often.
The creator comment is
Right.
down here. That nobody reads that.
Yeah, not really. We found that we get much more engagement with the audience if we build it into the end of the comic itself.
Right. And I guess it could be, I could do it, I could design a frame, basically, beginning, end, and the comic fits in the middle, and then there's a little designed tag thing at the end that separates it out.
It's all one giant Photoshop file.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so back in the Webcomics Nation days, I actually designed all my scenes to stack on top of each other. So, like, all the pages would just stack. So you'd have the infinite canvas thing.
Oh, all right.
Like that. And I would have to, like, merge them so they'd go seamlessly from one to the next. But that was pages. It wasn't panels. It was a different feel.
Sure.
I mean, because that was still going to be read on a computer. It wasn't being read on a phone.
Yeah.
How times change.
These damn phones have changed everything.
Oh man, I really have never adapted to the phone. I'm still mainly a computer user.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely.
It's my age.
When I'm away from the computer, sure, but you know.
Yeah, but even then, I don't use it a whole lot. You know, I use my iPad more than I use my phone when I'm not using my main systems.
No, our phone is primarily a way to take credit cards at conventions, to look up reference for whatever we're drawing, and to take photos, frequently also for reference.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a camera, it's a communications device, and I look things up on the web when I'm out. And that's basically what I use my phone for. I took social media off it several years ago because it was hurting my brain. But, so I only do social media at home.
Do that.
What?
I dream of the day. When social media is less.
Well, I just decide that I can't let it be interrupting me all day long. My brain doesn't work well with that.
It's definitely the bane of our existence.
Oh well. That is just the way it is. So I guess we're coming up on like just a couple minutes left. So
Yeah.
I mean, you've answered so many questions I didn't even know I had.
We're goddamn experts of this now.
Well, you've had a couple of good years here.
And also, I just again I want to thank our awesome fans because they do guide us. They let us know.
They've been very interactive with us.
Right, and a lot of the people again who are still here on the stream tonight, they're awesome. They're our little barometers, and I love that they come here and talk to us. And when I hear them say things, I can be like, okay, we're on the right track, or we might reconsider this, that, or the other thing. And again, we're not really like making changes to the book, but what I emphasize and what I don't emphasize does change sometimes based on their feedback. And based on their feedback, I know what to say in the afterwards. So thank you to all you guys. You really help us do what it is that we do on Webtoon. And if it wasn't for you guys, I think you'd be far more lost.
Well, not just on Webtoon either, because sometimes if it starts becoming apparent that they're not quite following a certain storyline or something is not quite clear, then we can think ahead. There's a lot of things that we have learned in terms of how to be more effective at setting up some of our plot lines because of the instant feedback we get. And granted, we have a pretty big lead-in.
Yeah, our lead-in is right now we're working on issue 14. We're on issue 12, and we're still very much in the beginning of issue 12.
Right, we're posting
Right.
the early parts of issue
And
12.
I think
Yeah.
issue 12 has 14 chapters total, something like that, because it's a very long issue.
Yeah. So
And,
we've got a couple issues of lead, which is pretty solid, but we know that there is going to be, like, in between issues, like when we get to the end of the episodes for a given issue, we'll take like a week or two off posting to give us a little bit more time.
where we can just focus, which is really important.
Yeah, we are trying to have the least amount of downtime possible. Also, you saw that at the end of season 1, we had a long stretch of just sort of, I wouldn't say filler, but just like interactive, non-comic stuff. Like
Yeah.
Q&A.
Yeah.
And that was also a way of, we need some more time to get season 2 ready. We
Right.
want to build this buffer, but we don't want to lose people's attention. We want people to stay excited. So what can we do to keep them invested that's going to leave us enough time that we can get working ahead?
Right. So yeah, I did have a question about that. When you ended season 1, was that you'd caught up on the print material, or you were just giving yourself you had gone through all the print material at that point?
We've gone through all the print material, and again, season 1 was 69 episodes.
Yeah.
But I think if we had done it right, it would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 times that long.
Potential. I don't know
Okay.
if it would've-
Adam holds off as maybe, but the math.
I just don't like giving those kinds of specifics.
That's fine.
Right,
That's
right,
fine.
right.
It would have been a lot longer. Is
It
that
would have
how about
Right. So it sounds like that in some ways to gauge on the side of less is more in
Yes.
terms of updates.
For sure.
that? Right. And
We
our
will get-
updates are shockingly long in comparison to many other people, especially on campus.
And even we still get the occasional light pushback by people who wish that they'd be a little longer. But
Mhm.
our experience has shown that if we do it longer, we lose engagement.
Huh, that's really fascinating. But it makes perfect sense because just the way, think about the way people scroll through Instagram or scroll through a Twitter feed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to grab the attention really quick, and it's otherwise, if too much, it's TLDR.
It's so true. Absolutely. So they think they want it, but they don't
Right.
actually.
And
They
a
don't always know.
few of them might genuinely want it,
Maybe.
but it just doesn't work out. Like,
Yeah.
that's our experience. As much as we want it, and again, just the space-wise, I can't physically.
Yeah,
we
they won't let
can't
us
do it
upload more
anymore.
content.
So, like that chapter that you saw, that's basically as long as they're getting, because the imagery is what takes up the vast majority of the megabyte space. The little afterwards is like super
It's
minimal
nothing
in
comparison.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right, because it's just some text on black. So yeah, that's about as long as I can get.
Right. And as long as you can keep up a regular schedule and more or less stay ahead of it, then
Yep. And so far, so good. We know there's going to have to be some breaks, but we try to find ways to either minimize them. Like, it's better to take a break between issues or chapters.
Right.
Section,
right?
Yes.
However you want to think of it. It's better to take small breaks, even when you don't absolutely need one, than to wait until you run out of material and have to take a big break.
oh, of course, yeah. I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I just thinking ahead. I actually did some spreadsheeting yesterday, looking at like, okay, if I were to break this up into weekly episodes of X amount, yeah, how long could I run before I ran out of material, existing material? And it was basically this time in 2023, right? Or 2022. So I could have 2 years of material if I started in January, for instance. And I'm going to launch a new PS miniseries, hopefully next spring, summer at the latest. And that's going to be 10 to 12 issues. And so that would give me 2 years of lead time to get, hopefully 4 or 5 issues or more done.
build in some breaks.
Yep.
And in between big volumes, when you finish volume 1, open up a Q&A, because people love having that interaction, and they're going to want to know things. And you're going to find out from the audience what they're most excited about.
Right.
Be able to find ways to like center that content, not by changing what you're doing, but thinking about the presentation.
Right.
You know,
Right.
When you're spreading out scenes to make them more readable, certain scenes might get spread out more to let them have more time, because you know that's what the audience is really enjoying.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So not only are you making sure that you're giving yourself as big a buffer as you can get away with, but you're making yourself more connected to the audience, you're getting a stronger rapport with that audience, and you're finding out how to hit them where you want them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, man, this has been great. I noticed that we're at 11 o'clock, so I know that you're scheduled to wrap up here. So, and I want to be.
And by the way, there's a lot of. I'm sorry we didn't get to the other comments and stuff that are here, but
there's been a lot of talk about other webtoons.
All right, other webtoons, a lot of just great comments overall. Again, you guys who are on the stream are always awesome, and we appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on this, and also I want to thank my own viewers who popped in. I'm just kind of doing these conversations just because they're fun for me, so I just figured I'd share them with everybody else.
Glad you feel like you learned something.
Oh, I certainly did. I may be following up with you on this. If you thank you so much, readers, Comfort and Adam's readers. Thank you for joining us and listening in. And if you're interested in checking out my comic, you can go over to paradigmshiftmanga.com, and right now the whole thing is up as a webcomic right now. So
it's really good.
It's really
good.
It's one of the best American mangas, I think, out there.
I remember getting it after we first met you, and so many times, like, we would get the books of whoever we're sitting by at a con. We met Dirk at a convention at Anime Central, and it was like our second year.
Second, so it was like 2009.
So we still didn't hardly know anybody.
Right, especially at Anime Show.
But we'd gotten, we buy the books of the people we're sitting by, and you're nice and you're polite. But Dirk was really fun, and it was really interesting and really good. And I was like, okay, well, let's actually read this thing and see what we got. And next thing you know, it's like 4 in the morning. You got this stack of books that you've gone through, and you're just absorbing it all. It's such good material. I love the book.
Oh man, thank you guys. You guys gave me a really, really nice pull quote too. I really appreciated that.
Nothing but the truth. It's easy to make good pull quotes when you're talking about something that you legitimately really like.
Oh man, warmed my heart. Thank you so much. I unfortunately I don't have a Twitch account, so I can't put my URL in the stream chat.
Adam, can you
put the paradigmshiftmanga.com in there. But yeah, and you just keep working on. Man, the Uniques is just awesome stuff. So I was so happy to reconnect with you guys.
Likewise. And as we end here for our people, I just want to remind everyone that we are designing. So we're going through the process, not just of making new Uniques characters on Thursday, but we're talking overall about the process of designing characters on Thursday, which is, I think, something that a lot of people are interested in.
And it's certainly one of our favorite things.
Right, and we're excited to share. So at 9 o'clock on Thursday, that's what we're going to be doing. But I think other than that, I think we're good to go tonight, right? We saw Adam. Oh, last thing, Adam, can you send me any of the quakes that you did, and I'll add that to my page.
Sure.
Yeah.
Same, man.
Adam is saving, so everybody's gonna be
And it's updating.
it's updating.
And it's up on my
And it's
side.
up, okay. Let me just open this.
This is the fun thing of the two of us working together on different characters in the same book, is when we get to bring it all together.
Once open, I don't know. Why did it not open? Try it again. Or did I open my own?
Yeah.
God dang it. Kirk's. Okay, that's serious. Alright, fair enough. Okay, there it is. So
Is this
now
a side by side here?
Yep. And I can now add it to this one here. Just gonna delete out one little part because I had already pasted it in. Where I get Oh, you didn't get a chance to do the Quake stand voice.
No, I didn't.
Oh no!
I know what I said, Quake.
Oh, you didn't do the sad Quake underneath the reference.
No, I was working on
All right. Well, anyways, he's cleaning the tables.
being a good boy.
He is BOI boy. That's another thing, Dirk. Get ready. Oh, you're gonna learn so much jargon.
Oh man, I feel bad. You know, here I'm like a 45-year-old. Like me trying to use internet slang just does not sound right. I just sound like a cheesy old guy who's trying to look hip. It just doesn't work.
Just say it with confidence. Okay, people don't care. It's when you're being disingenuous that it comes off badly.
Right. All right, man. It's so cool to see you guys work. Oh man, like you're not the only husband and wife team that I know. My friends Shelly, Caroline, and Braden Lamb also like work on their stuff together. But it blows my mind every time I see it to have two artists working on a single project and having their work look seamless. It's just
Look at how close that looks. Who knows who draws who, and that's the majesty of it.
Like, there's tells if you know, like, there's people
That's-
who
yeah.
have known our work long enough that you can start to pick it apart, but it really, it's so close that it doesn't matter.
And that's right, Nola. Pretty sad boys. That's really the name of the fucking
That's what they
game
want,
here.
man.
Are all our boys somewhat like tragic and
Yes.
ever so slightly tortured? One's very tortured. But my God, that is the money for the park, and I am very aware of that now. Like it was not the money back in 2008. That was.
I will say that the new storyline definitely has a romance thread in it. So
They're so.
That-
Oh,
there might be some development happening in that department.
that will be like the thing for somewhere in the neighborhood of 85% of your readers.
Right, of course. And there's plenty of Erst leading up to that in the first two volumes anyway, so
There you go. Yeah, and yes,
Smiles taught us anything. You don't have to write anything romantic for the fan base to go and just take off to the
take
races.
after the races. Mulder and Scully are having like scientific talk.
oh yeah, totally.
Are they
Oh,
gonna fuck?
It's happening.
Oh my God! We're gonna hands close together? Sweet Jesus!
Sometimes I feel like the less you do, the more fun they have.
yeah. Yep. Okay, well then I'm probably fine then.
Alright, there you go.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Derek. It's been
Oh, thank you so much for this. We will chat again. And
for sure.
all right. Thanks everybody. Bye bye.